Sup guys, how we doing? And welcome back to another YouTube video. So standard pre-workout going in, 4 rice cakes, 20 grams reduced sugar jam, ketchup on there as well, a little bit of pink Himalayan salt, oats 50 grams, 20 grams away, and a little bit of dark chocolate in the middle there. When you're on a cut, those small details make a big difference, and to wash it out in a black coffee. So before I get onto the main subject of today's video, I just want to talk a little bit about routines. You know, for me personally, and you'll see it a lot when I put my YouTube videos, or if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see that I do a lot of the same things. I'm quite repetitive every single day, and it's not because that's the only way in which I know how to do them. It's because I find being successful or doing things towards a target just basically is comes down to consistency. You know, doing the same things every single day, ticking those boxes, know exactly what you're doing, is going to basically bring results. So for me, have my morning rituals and doing the same kind of routine every single day, for me, not only will it allow me to have a productive day, which is very important when, like for example, my job, one-to-one PT, online coaching, I've got lots of things to do, my own training as well. So it'll help with productivity, like I said, and also as well, if you're going towards a specific goal, you know, and you basically schedule out your day or the week, and you know exactly what you're doing, you're ticking those boxes, you're going to be working towards that goal a lot faster than if you weren't. You know, I've spoken about before, you know, some people, if they go a little bit off track, they're like, okay, I'm going to start again on Monday, and this is like a stop-start kind of routine, rather than, you know, you're doing the same things every single day, you know exactly what you're doing, and you're basically smashing it to a T. This doesn't just apply in a cut. So for example, this summer shredding series, I gave myself 12-13 weeks. I gave myself plenty of time. I knew exactly what I was doing. I was ticking those boxes, steps, cardio, food, nutrition, training. Everything was planned out, so I know exactly what to do. If I go a little bit off the rails and something's not quite right, I know that 9 times out of 10, I've got it absolutely spot on. If you're looking to cut, the biggest thing that I would say is consistency, but find a routine that works for you. Again, going back to myself, sometimes the job that I do is a little bit all over the place in terms of the hours that I do. It's not like a rigid 9 to 5. But if you know exactly what you're doing, find a routine that's going to basically allow you to get the results that you're after. So if you're looking to cut, you know, look at your work life, look at your social life, see what works for you, find a routine and stick to it. Anyway, I'm going to eat this pre-workout and then I'm going to hit a pull session. So this is going to be a pull session A, so this is the first rotation, and I'm going to explain everything that I'm doing. Yes guys, how we doing? So back with another voiceover. This time it's going to be my pull session. So as you saw a second ago, I've included an extra row movement into my session. This is purely because when I've assessed my physique, my thickness is just not there the way that I need it to be for next year. And yeah, I know that in a calorie deficit I'm not going to be putting on as much muscle tissue. I know that for a fact, but basically by allowing and kind of getting used to it now, that little bit extra volume, hopefully come when I go back into my off season, it's gonna hopefully grow the way I want it to. So first movement, this is my sort of T-bar row. This is a standard first movement for me. I always start with the hardest movement I find, something that's chest supported. As you just saw a second ago with my warm-up sets as well, I do like kind of 3 or 4 warm-up sets, but just like 3 to 4 reps. I'm just getting used to the weight rather than like an 8 to 10. Straight into my second exercise. This is the hammer pull down, single arm. I used to hit this with both doubles, but what I used to find was the line of movement wasn't quite right, so I've just kind of turned a little bit. I've kept the single hammer pull down and just slightly turned a little bit, and I just found my lats are a lot more engaged this way. This one as well, you know, keep everything pinned in, keep everything tight, only allow, you know, driving through your elbow. Basically just allow your lats to take over. Don't let any shoulder movement or anything like that. For me on this one, my biceps taken over a little bit. You'll see this in a lat pull down as well when people use the bicep or the shoulder a little bit too much. I've just got to note that, you know, it needs to come down with the lat. So into my next movement, and these were tough today. These are my Romanian deadlifts. You can also do these on a lower day because it also works your hamstring. But like I said, with the fitness aspect, deadlifts are staying in on a pull day. I prefer these in the rack pull. Rack pull I just don't do well with. Same with off the floor. Whereas this movement is nice. That was my top set. 130 for 5 reps and straight into my back off. These felt a lot nicer. I've started using them without straps at the moment because I know I could lift heavier with straps, but one, because I'm calorie deficit, I have to be mindful of the load, and also I want to get really strong without straps, so when I kind of go back to straps, then I'm going to lift a lot more, a bit like a pre-workout. If you come off pre-workout for a long period of time and then you go straight on it, you're going to feel the full effects. So that was my back off set. Straight into my row movement. Apologies about the camera angle here. There's quite a lot of people around me, so I couldn't really get a good angle. This was my back off set of, I think, 90 for 8, and these just didn't really feel right today. Everything felt a lot heavier, and that's what I found as calorie deficit. As you know, as times go on, towards the end of the session, it gets a lot tougher. Yeah, this just wasn't a good set. Let's just skip past this one. Cool. So into my next movement, my lat pull down. This one, just take your ego out of it massively. Just purely focus on engaging your lats. You know, I see so many people swing. I see so many people, and that's myself included. You know, you really kind of want to keep that chest up and just driving. Like, you got to imagine you're driving your elbows down towards each other. Okay, with a big squeeze. Make sure you stabilize your feet as well. That's a key one for me. This one, obviously, it's not the most attractive because my ribs kind of stick out a little bit, as you can probably see. But yeah, just focus on just contracting those lats. You know, load is very important and progressive overload is really important, but there's nothing better than contraction, and that's something that I really focus on the off season and into this deficit as well. So this is I can't remember if this is my top set or back off set. I think 75 for like 10 or 12, something like that. I didn't record the rear delts, and that was just 2 sets of 12 to 15, and then straight into my first bicep exercise. If you know me, you know I'm a big fan of this movement. You know, your biceps stabilized, you get full contraction, you control it all the way down, big squeeze at the top. Again, keep those feet nice and stabilized. 8 to 10, 2 sets on both arms. And then we're going to go into the final movement, which is a hammer curl. I forgot the name for a second. Hammer curl, and again, apologies about angle, not the best. The gym was crazy busy on a Friday. This one, prefer to seat down, stabilized again. I've noticed that a lot with movements. You know, I've progressively got better, and not just better in strength, but in physique wise, by keeping everything stable. You know, this movement, if I ask you what you're working, I'm working my biceps, and then you got to like take yourself back and actually realize, are you actually working biceps? And yeah, and towards the end, that's the good thing about being lean. You get a nice little pump on, and then towards the end, it goes a little bit sloppy. Anyway, thanks for watching the full session, and back to me. Okay, cool. So post-workout has just gone in, and I'm going to show you a few physique shots of currently where I'm at the moment. I'm currently at 84.5 kilos, and I have been for the last week or so. I feel like this is a weight that I'm comfortable with. Any more is kind of like entering you know, kind of like a prep. I think I was 82 kilos, just less on stage, so any more, and you know, I'm just really digging deep, and I don't want to kind of go that far. The main subject of today's video, what I want to talk about, is creating that V-taper that you see in men's physique. So by a V-taper, what I mean is like a small waist and like kind of wide shoulders and back. And like, if you're a men's physique competitor, that is kind of what they look for amongst a whole load of other things, but the V-taper is key, you know, especially that back shot. If you can have a really kind of slim waist and like wide shoulders and big back, you're going to stand out more than somebody else that doesn't. So how exactly do you create a V-taper? Well, the most important thing first is understand, like, when it comes to your waist, you know, you can't change your waist. It will only kind of go as kind of skinny and as little as possible. You know, there's no waist trainers that are going to bring it in even more so. It's just dieting over a long period of time, chipping away kind of towards like your love handle area. That kind of like, if you store a lot of body fat there, you have to really kind of dig in deep to kind of get that as skinny as possible. But in terms of your actual waist size, I think on stage I was like a 32, 30 inch waist. Normally I'm a 34. I know a lot of guys that was like a 26, 28. You know, I couldn't go to that level. Like, I couldn't keep digging. I haven't got a genetic like kind of real slim waist. So that's the first thing that you've got to consider. That's the waist area covered. Now onto the kind of shoulders and delts. So this will mainly come down to your off season into your improvement phase. So you're going to have to put a lot of work in growing your shoulders, a lot of work growing your lats and your kind of rhomboid sort of area. When it comes to your shoulders and your back and your lats, you've got to put all emphasis into like kind of heavy shoulder pressing, so dumbbells, hammer, barbell, anything like that in terms of rower movements. You know, in the terms of the thickness, you've got your RDLs and rower movements, but for example on your lats, your lat pull downs, anything that's kind of like a vertical, if you can nail those, you're going to be building tissue. By creating that tissue, you're basically going to make that illusion, so when you do diet down, when you do start to chip away with the fat, you'll basically have that muscle there ready, so when you kind of diet down, you're going to automatically create that V-taper without actually realising that you are creating that V-taper, if that makes sense. So your waist will come in, and then what you'll see with your shoulders and your back, all the excess fat that you hold in your off-season and your improvement phase, that will slowly chip away, same with your waist, and then you'll have that fantastic V-taper. If you're looking at competing in men's physique, you know, you've got to be targeting these areas, but don't necessarily like neglect your chest, your triceps or anything like that, because they play a massive part into it as well. So even though V-taper is very, very important, the other muscle groups are equally as important as well. So just to recap, if you're looking to build that V-taper, firstly understand that your waist does come down to genetics a little bit. It's going to get smaller as you diet down, but understand that, you know, you can't necessarily like chip off your hip bones or anything like that. Secondly as well, you've got to understand that, you know, if you want to create that V-taper, you've got to put a lot of work in building the muscle tissue in your delts and your back. And finally, you've got to understand that you won't necessarily see your V-taper in the off season. You'll see it when you start to diet down. You may be holding a lot of kind of excess fat in your shoulders and your back and your waist. As soon as you go into a deficit, as soon as you start chipping away, you'll see that V-taper come through. Thank you so much for watching the video. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.